Time to talk politics here on the Parkland Podcast as we continue to give you some interviews from the Desloge Chamber of Commerce Pancakes for Candidates breakfast. And we're joined now by Becky Laubinger. She's running for state representative in the 117th District. Thanks so much for talking to us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited you guys are doing this podcast.
Hey,
it's great
we're
for the
excited
community.
to have you. Yeah, absolutely. Let's start off with the question that I think begins most political interviews, and that's why did you decide to run for this position?
So it started several years ago. I was looking at national candidates just around different states and across the nation, and frustrated that it seemed like a lot of people didn't live what they said their platform was, what they said they stood for, and just frustrated by why we didn't have candidates who were living out what they believe. And my husband had been telling me for years that I should run, which he hates politics. So I just thought he was joking. But I began to get more and more convicted that I should consider this. And as a Christian, and it seemed like God was really pushing me to this. So every time I tried to say no and give excuses, like I still have kids in the home, or what about the pregnancy resource center where I work, he would answer that within 24 hours of why that's not a legitimate excuse. So here we are, we're running, and in my time at work, I've seen how a lot of policies affect people on the ground in their daily lives, and so I have just a passion to help refocus. Policies have to plan for the worst case scenario because people are going to find that worst case and take advantage of it, and so how we write legislation and how it affects people on the grounds is important to me.
When most people run for an office the first time, they find it to be an eye-opening experience, I guess.
Absolutely, yes. So I wasn't excited going into it like this will be the greatest thing ever. I drug my feet because you just know people don't like politicians really in general, so who wants to be that person? Right. But it's really been great to get to know a lot of people in our community, the things that are important to them, the ways legislation has affected them. So that's been a blessing. It's been a really good time. It was super intimidating starting that door to door, but people are fun and kind and welcoming even, so it's been a good experience.
We talked about your passion for how people are affected by legislation. What are some legislative issues that you would like to tackle if the voters put you in office?
So my main focus is the foundations. So family is absolutely foundational for the success of any nation. And over the past since probably the 60s, how our government has tried to help people through funding and through other programs has long-term disintegrated the family. And so kids are growing up in chaos. It's no wonder they're suffering from anxiety and depression. They don't necessarily know where they come from, so they don't have that solid platform to go into the future. So I'd like to focus on legislation, especially when it comes to helping, how we help without hurting. And that's a big part of what I do now as well, that there is charity that is actually helpful, but then there's charity that's really destructive and toxic. And so helping people is not about the good feeling that it gives us to help. It's about the outcomes for those who are helped. Is it really, truly helping them long term, or is it keeping them in a poverty cycle? So examining some of those help processes, and then also just other foundations as far as water lines. I know there's a lot of communities where those are breaking down, and if we don't have water, that's going to be a huge issue. Yeah, yes. Absolutely. So water and roads and fire and police, those foundational things that just make our country operate well. And we do a lot of great things in our state, but sometimes we forget about the basics. And so I think we need to refocus on those basic things, education as well, just making sure those are strong and stable so that our future is strong and stable.
It's going to be a balancing act for you between your job at the Parkland Pregnancy Resource Center, your family, and Jefferson City. How are you prepared to combine all that?
So my family is on board. My husband is a pastor. We're a pastor's family. My kids have kind of lived in that fishbowl experience all of their lives, so they're on board. As far as the resource center, that's kind of up to my board of directors, whether I would continue or find somebody else to take that place, because I don't want that to suffer in any way. It needs to be doing all it can do for the community. So we'll see.
Final message for the voters.
Well, I appreciate our hardworking community, our caring community. I've seen that in the whole time that I've been here, and especially as I've worked with the Pregnancy Resource Center. We have a loving, caring, generous community. It's a great place to live. I'm blessed to be here, and I would appreciate the community's vote on August 6th.
How do people find out more about your campaign?
So they can go to laubingerformissouri.com, or I'm on Facebook, or I'm trying to think if there's another platform, Gmail, BeckyLaubinger@gmail.com. If they have any questions, they can send that over my way.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
That's Becky Laubinger. She's running for state representative in the 117th district.